Hey there, dream chasers and passion pursuers. Welcome to the Passion2Purpose Podcast, where we explore the incredible journeys of individuals who have turned their passions into successful businesses, nonprofits, movements, and side hustles. I'm Misha, your host, with over 20 years in the nonprofit sector. As a real estate agent and mortgage loan originator, I've had the privilege of working with so many amazing people who have followed their hearts and changed the world. And now I'm bringing their stories to you. Robbin Kelton is the host and founder of the Mamapreneur Podcast, where female-owned businesses across the country take center stage. With the passion for helping women entrepreneurs gain exposure and reach their fullest potential, Robbin offers insights and inspiration for ladies in every season of entrepreneurship. Born and raised in Dallas, Robbin's diverse background includes paralegal studies, real estate, and business administration. As a mom and seasoned entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience as a hair and lash stylist and salon owner, Robbin lives by the motto of courage, community, and connection. Join her as she empowers women to pursue their dreams and succeed in business. Can you tell us about your background and what initially sparked your passion for business consulting and podcasting?
A little bit about me. My background is in hair, lashes, facials, also in the mortgage industry as well. Podcasting was not a plan.
Yeah.
I got invited to a networking event in the middle of the pandemic. At the time, salons were just opening back up due to being closed down. Salons here in Dallas were closed for about 4 months. So I was invited to the networking event at a time where we were getting back outside. So got invited to the event, went, networked, ate all the food, bought from all the vendors, did all the things. My business card was picked from a swag bag. Who thought to go on to a podcast person is now my friend who streams mine for me. I went on, she said, you can come on and talk about the salon. Went on, I talked about the salon and all 9,000 things that we do. And started following the platform. And then 3.5 months later, I get another message saying, hey, I would love to have you on as a host on my show or host your own. I'm thinking about expanding the platform. Like, you want me? I said, you want me to do what? And okay, girl, let me pray on that. I don't know what I would say to the people in podcast land. Let's pray on that thing. And so I gave it about a week and a half. And while at DFW Airport, as I'm about to take my son to Florida for a spring break, I said, let me text her before I get on this plane and before I change my mind.
You're right.
My mantra since 2021 has been do it scared, do it afraid. And so remembering months prior, asking God to put me in places, rooms, provide opportunities that would not come from me. They can only come from him. And lo and behold, here she comes months later with that proposal. And so she wanted me to be a host on her show, host my own. So I made the decision to host my own because the other show was cool, but they had their own platform. They've been around a while.
Right.
Like, let y'all have that. And so then I was like, well, I'll do what she did for me. And that was, first off, not only talk about entrepreneurship. So I came up with the name Mamapreneur. I am a mother to a 14, almost 15-year-old son who's eating me out of house and home as we speak. And so I'm a mom right off the bat. So I was like, all right, Mamapreneur, let's throw that together. Then I was like, well, we'll not only talk about entrepreneurship, but I'll give women-owned businesses from all over the world, all over the country, to come on to promote themselves, to talk about themselves. A ton of women-owned businesses were formed from the pandemic, but not everybody has the access, the exposure. So I love putting the person that nobody's heard of out there. I love the underdog. I'm used to being the overlooked. I'm used to being, oh, not right now, the rejected, all the things. I laugh at some of those people now. Robbin, you're doing so great today. But I love the underdog. So I love putting those people out there that, you're not going to know about them, but you know about them now.
Right.
because you know about them now and the greatness and seeing their stories now, 3 years later,
Right.
almost 3.5 years later, 69 episodes later, something I never thought I'd be doing, but I love it. And to now to see the growth of the Facebook group, which is called the Mamapreneur Tribe, to see the growth
Mhm.
of it, to now to have events and to see the growth of
Right.
that, to see the growth of my webinars. You got to attend one, which is the Mamapreneur Podcast webinar. I actually
Mhm.
have one next Monday. You got to sit through that. I do them on podcasting, now branding, collaborations, lead generation, you name it. I probably will have a podcast about it. I just did one about credibility, no like
Mhm.
and trust factor as an entrepreneur. Why is that so important? And
Awesome.
it's been great.
You have your hands in everything.
I'm
And
trying.
I am happy to say that I did take that. I did attend that podcast, and you are an essential part of why this is up and running or starting to run. I am happy to report that I am a mamapreneur community member and a benefactor to your podcast and your training and your openness and willingness to just share and pour into other women entrepreneurs. What was your aha moment when you realized that you wanted to turn your passions into a business venture?
Okay, so 2021 was, let's just see. Let's see how this works. Really,
Right.
it was because again, it was something I didn't think I'd be doing. And
Right.
then I'm like, you want me to talk to people? They gonna see me? And granted, I'm not shy by any means, but still, I was like, I hope what I'm doing, people are liking it. So the aha moment was feedback I would get from people. Man, I was thinking about starting my business, and I had
Mhm.
been back and forth about it. And someone shared an episode of the Mamapreneur podcast, and they saw it. And to get for them to follow me, give me feedback, to tell me I started my business because of your show. That's
Wow.
cool.
That is cool.
I was
Yeah,
like, yeah,
that's definitely a pivotal moment.
yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say the defining moment when you realize that your passion could become your purpose? You know, a lot of us are on a search for our purpose, and we rarely feed our passions.
Yeah. See, my passion's always been hair. It's always
Okay.
been hair. Been doing it a long time, even since I was in elementary school, middle school. I knew the high school I'd go to get my cosmetology. Got my license in high school. I knew that. So I always knew hair, lashes, facials, all the things. I thought I'd have my own barbershop at some point, all the things. And then God has a way of adding additional things to
Doesn't.
your plate and say, nah, this you're doing this and that's great. Yeah, that's still passion. But I feel people tell me that they feel like it's my calling. I didn't see that beforehand. I love it.
Right.
To be recognized in public, some people recognize me. They like,
You are definitely a
entrepreneur.
DFW star.
I was like, what? But no, what's
Yeah.
cool now, my show, it stretches beyond DFW. So that's the cool part about this
Right.
platform. But that was me being intentional about reaching out to people outside of DFW, to now getting people referred to me here and outside of DFW. So being intentional is everything.
Yeah. So now you have to start being aware at the airport, right?
I
You
was
gonna
I
start.
was at dinner. I never forget it. I was at dinner running my mouth. This lady and her family, they were about to leave the restaurant.
Mhm.
I saw them get up from the table. They're about to leave the restaurant. And I never forget it. I'm about to take a bite of my food. She was like, Mamapreneur Podcast? Yes. Oh, my friend told me about your podcast. I love it. Blah, blah, blah. She told me who was on the show and everything. I was like, yeah, you watched. Okay. She's like, I
Wow.
love what you're doing. So to hear feedback again, to hear feedback from people, because again, I'm such a perfectionist. So I don't be knowing, child. I just do what I do. I be myself. I try to be as authentic as humanly possible because people will see it if you're not. And that's what I
Right.
talked about in my Know, Like, and Trust webinar. Like, and that's what that comes in, now 2021, 2022, even till now, folks got to know me. Then they watch the show or listen to the show, because you can do either. And then laugh at me because I'm not just a button up kind of gal. And we're gonna handle business, but we're gonna have fun. And
Right.
and then to trust me now, because people are still watching and the numbers are growing up and
Mhm.
opportunities are presenting themselves. I got a speaking engagement out of the show, yeah. So
What would you say some of the biggest challenges have been starting the Mamapreneur podcast?
question in another podcast. I'll say this. I've been consistent the entire time. So I haven't had any obstacles, challenges.
Okay.
I've been intentional
Mhm.
about getting the brand out there to as many people as humanly possible. I want to pour into as many people as possible, wanted to reach as many people as possible. I stay networking, getting out there, meeting people, whether it's virtual or in person. I've been consistent. And I'll tell you
Mhm.
what I told her, my friend that had her podcast. When it's when you are called to do it, God will make it where it is everything lines up into place. The opportunities present themselves, the people present themselves, the topics of choice come to mind. Everything, even people to come and help you along the way with the podcast, because podcast is a business.
Mhm.
So you need help. You can't do it all. Now I do the bulk of my stuff myself, but I know certain things I'm like, we ain't doing that. Get someone else to do it. That's kind of my
Right.
attitude with certain things. But the bulk is Robin, is what I do.
Yeah. So you've been doing this now a few years. When would you say that you really hit your stride? To take a few months to kind of feel like I'm doing this and it's pretty smooth.
Uh yeah, I'd say that. I think about it. I'm like, yeah, I say within 6 months.
Okay.
Within 6 months, being comfortable with being live, because
Mhm.
I'm live. So being comfortable being live and making sure I have done my research on whoever's coming on. Remember, I'm interviewing different people each show. So making sure that I am interviewing and make sure I have the right questions. And I like to ask the questions that someone in the audience may want to ask. In the audience, I've probably beat them to it in more
Right.
ways than one. So, and making sure that I'm shining a light on that person in the right light.
Mhm.
So I write the show, write out the format, all things. That's me. So trying to make sure that that we're giving the people what they want.
You
Thank you.
can you share a specific instance where you had to push past fear and uncertainty to continue pursuing your passion?
Say right now, trying to grow the brand. Again, my goal is global. So
Mhm.
trying to get in rooms and spaces where there's probably I'll be honest, good example. So I went to a networking event last Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm.
Last Wednesday, was in a room, people, executives, people, radio execs. I mean, like really high up the food chain, tech, all these things. And I don't know why I was nervous. I'm educated. I got,
Yeah.
I've been doing my show for some time. I know who I'm reaching. I know all these things, but I was still nervous to be in the room with like radio execs, and I had a few people that were in media, and the
Yeah.
goal of mine is like, yo, I want to be on radio, TV, and film. I want to grow even beyond. Yes, we have the podcast, and the podcast will be around and all the things, but to even exceed past where we are today, and that's radio, TV, film. So getting in those rooms and spaces beyond, yes, it can be intimidating, but still going and being in those places anyway.
Doing it scared, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I know most of us mamapreneurs, we are balancing multiple things. Parenthood, as you mentioned, you have that teen that's eating you out of house and home. I know that you have a whole bunch of other things that you have going on, as well as all of the networking you're doing for the Mamapreneur podcast and just in general. How do you balance all of those things? Do you balance all of those things?
I'm naturally a planner by nature. So if it's not in the calendar, we don't know about it. And we have to know when to say no to certain things. Time management is big. I learned something. I'm also a Mary Kay consultant and have been for 16 years. And one thing that I've learned with Mary Kay is to write down, yeah, we have so much to do, but write it down. So daily things. They call it the 6 most important things list. I would say I do 5. So 5 things I do it the night before I go to bed for the next day. So I'm not juggling the next morning trying to figure out now what am I doing? And I write those things down. And that helps me stay organized the next day. And you can check it off. You're like, all right, I did that. Hey, I spent an hour on my business. Hey, I did this. I did advertisement. I reached out to these leads, whatever that looks like. And then you have your boundaries where you block that time off. All right, I'm done. I'm not doing nothing business related. I'm gonna focus on my child because I have a basketball player in the other room, AAU basketball player in the other room. Because
Wow.
so we got to match our itineraries with this one. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they stay busy.
yeah. Right now this summer,
Yeah.
August 4th can't get here any faster.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. Can you share some insights or lessons learned along the way that would help other aspiring entrepreneurs?
I said to you, blue in the face, consistency.
Consistency, one of our biggest struggles.
You have to be consistent. I don't care if you have an ice cream shop, you change tires, you're an author, you sell houses. And promoting yourself, that's consistency on getting out there and getting new leads. Really big on lead generation. It does not matter what field you're in. Really big on lead generation, getting out there, meeting new people. Whoever you meet may be, a warm lead, may bring you some warm leads later. Constantly putting yourself out there, promoting and branding yourself, consistent. Because again, folks got to know, like, and trust you. So you have
Right.
to be consistent and intentional about running your business. So that's going to be the big thing I'll tell you today. Those two,
Right.
consistency and intentionality.
And you hit on something that's big for myself and just a lot of women that I talk to on a regular basis, and that is boundaries. And that's part of that balancing, right? Saying no to the right things so you can say yes to the things that are in support of where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. And that seems to be one of the biggest struggles with being a momapreneur, being in business and being a mom and juggling all those many things. Have you found it hard when you were getting into business for yourself to exercise those boundaries, especially with your loved ones?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't an issue. More for me is having a day to do nothing. I don't know about you, but I have a therapist. And so when we would chat, she was like, Robin, oh my God, when do you find time to have a day to do nothing? And I couldn't answer her question. I'm speechless. It's rare that I'm speechless.
Mm-hmm.
That was a speechless moment. So finding that time to sit, do nothing, relax. She was like, do you have one day a week that you can do that? And I looked at my calendar and laughed at her at the same time. I said, good luck. But I like
Yeah.
to travel too. So we both
Right.
was on a cruise around the same time. We know how to get on a cruise and travel. We know how to get out of here.
Uh-huh.
But locally in the States, normally I'm busy. We normally got something going. So trying to, I would say the balance piece, finding that balance to get somewhere and sit down, literally, before your body does it for you. So
Yeah, I will say I'm really good about that, to so much to the point that people are like, "You're not doing anything today?" Like, I'm missing or I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm like, "No, I'm doing nothing today. I'm not cleaning up. I'm not doing anything but the stuff I want to do, reading a book, watching TV, or just laying in bed all day." Now, I don't get to do that once a week. I do want to get to that point, but I'd say at least twice a month. And that's really just because now that my kids are not in the house with me. Before then, like you said, I couldn't recall a day that I didn't have something to do or somewhere I had to take somebody or some event I had to be at or
Uh-huh.
something else or another. And so I'm finally getting to the place where there is nothing that I have to do.
Yeah,
There are things I could do. There's things I'm invited to. Sometimes I just have to say, no, today I need to be in the bed and set my butt down somewhere and stay there all day long.
absolutely.
Yeah. So this is really big for you because every time I look on Facebook, I see, especially being in the Mamapreneur tribe, I see a lot of networking events and community events and things that you're either hosting or attending or, co-hosting. What role has networking and community played in your journey?
My show gonna be here. I went to a networking event where I knew no one.
Hmm.
So my show, that's first, that's right off the cuff. And I
Okay.
went, I went by myself.
Hmm.
Normally I'm like, oh, let me see if we can get somebody to come along.
Right.
I had someone that was supposed to come along with me that day that did not. They ended up not being scared because we were in the height of COVID. So they were
Right.
nervous about getting back outside. They backed out last minute. And normally I probably would have been like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to stay here. Getting out and meeting people. And I still keep in touch. That was 4 years ago. I still keep in
Right.
touch with a good chunk of those people today, including the person who streams the show for me. But networking, I talk a lot about why it's so important.
Mm.
I say it on my flyers. I do local events here in town. I have one coming up. True connection happens when you're in the room. I do the events intentionally because you never know what connections you may have by showing up to a networking event. I've seen where two people that didn't know each other, they met. I had Mamapreneur brunch July 1st of last year. Two ladies who did not know each other prior to that day. The three of us are all going on a trip later in the month.
Oh,
Celebrate two of our birthdays. And
awesome.
those two are now working with each other and partnering with each other with different events, all the
Mhm.
things. I went to one where they were together. One was hosting and one was a vendor and speaker. And I'm clapping like I'm their mother and they're my children. And these ladies are older than me. And I'm over here like, my baby up there. And yeah, so I like seeing the connections just happen. I just had an event
Right.
Saturday where and I always have a theme of some sort. And so I
Mhm.
love a good color theme, honey. So I had an event Saturday and people are like reaching out to each other for insurance and I got
Mhm.
a real estate broker and investor together. I mean, so on and so forth. But again, I tell people you have to go to these events. Whether you're an introvert, extrovert, ambivert, go. You will always connect with someone in the room. You just
Right.
never know what that is. And a lot of times, all you got to do is say, "Hi, my name is." What's yours?
I struggled with feeling the need to have someone come with me. When I lived in California, I came from such a large family and I always had my kids and I was just always surrounded by a community of people, whether it was my dance community or something else. So I really didn't have to go anywhere alone. I didn't realize until I moved to Texas that I had never saw a movie alone. I'd never gone to the movies by myself. And so since I've been here in Texas, I find myself just about at everything alone. Obviously, it feels a lot more comfortable when you at least know a couple people who might be there. That's helpful. But being an introvert myself, I will vouch for the fact that, I've made some mutually beneficial connections at these networking events. And it's not because I like work the rooms. I'm not a very outgoing or social person, but I tend to end up having the right conversations with the right one or two people at
With
the event.
people.
That's really all it takes sometimes. You don't necessarily
Hmm.
have to either be in the front of the room or work the room. Just be in there. Sometimes you'll be put in the path of somebody that you're supposed to meet that day.
And with time, you build that community. I've built a
Mhm.
community of, I like to call my business sisters. Everybody, those two ladies that I'm going on a trip with later, and a few
Mhm.
others, we support each other at each other's events. I'm having a retreat next month. Some of those ladies are sponsors and vendors. It's
Mhm.
just we support one another in business. So the more you go to networking events in town,
Mhm.
you will find at some point get to know somebody in the room. One of
Exactly.
the one of those ladies, I take we go to we will text one another. Hey, did you hear about this event? No, I ain't heard about this one. Okay, well, I'm gonna go. Okay, see you there.
Right.
And then end up seeing
Right.
that person at the event. Go figure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think you kind of hit on this in the question before last, but how do you measure success both personally and professionally?
Measure success.
Mhm.
I'm an analytics girl. I love looking at the numbers. So,
Yeah.
okay, how many views are we getting?
Mhm.
If it says zero, I'll be like, okay, what we need to work on. Or if I
Mhm.
even see one person that has watched, I'm like, all right, that's a success. We got eyes on the show.
Right.
I say success because we still around 3 years later. So
Mhm.
I count that as a success. Again, I count the feedback that I get from people. I count that as a success. Getting featured in magazines where you have to be referred to be featured in the magazine because of the show,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. The community that has been built, I count that as a success from the show. Being asked to do things, coming to this,
Mhm.
being a guest on this podcast, or I have a speaking engagement in a couple weeks. Being asked to do things, you're being sought after in some shape, form, capacity. I count that as a success. So just keep going, and continuing and being, again, consistent.
Being consistent is a huge success because if you look at the stats for people who start ventures of all kinds, including podcasts, most people don't make it past so many episodes or so many seasons. Done well and exceeded that. I've been consistent in those things. Yeah. So where can people find you? What do you have coming up? How can people support your networking events and ventures?
So I am at Mamapreneur Podcast on all platforms. That's YouTube, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the things. So follow there. For YouTube, we're doing Road to 1,000 subscribers. So go to YouTube and follow me at subscribe, excuse me, at Mamapreneur Podcast. On Monday, I have the Mamapreneur Podcast webinar that Misha has been a part of coming up on Monday. I have a few spots available. I do free gifts for my people with purchase. So you reserve your spot, you show up, I give gifts. So it's teaching people either how to start their podcast or grow, brand, and monetize their existing ones. It's been great. Again, I love seeing something that started as a thought.
Mhm.
You come into the webinar, we brainstorm on what that looks like, and you actually execute, Misha. You actually
Mhm.
execute, and we are here now. So we have the Mompreneur Podcasting webinar Monday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You must register for that. Misha can provide you the details.
We are always on the lookout for new guests who embody the spirit of passion to purpose. If you have a story of turning your passion into a successful venture, we want to hear from you. Follow us on social media for updates at Passion2Purpose Podcast on all social platforms. You'll find there behind the scenes content and more. Together, let's embark on this journey from passion to purpose. Your dreams are just the beginning. Stay tuned and let's turn those dreams into reality. See you soon on the Passion to Purpose podcast.